Welcome to Western Hospice Care's series of conversations about death and dying. My name is Jen Wakefield and I'm the Family Support Team Manager at Western Hospice Care. In conjunction with Hospice UK and the National Dying Matters Awareness Week, we aim to discuss some of your thoughts and questions about death and dying in general, as well as during this coronavirus pandemic. We hope you find these conversations informative and useful, but don't forget that you can always contact us using the details on our website for more information. We'll also be posting some links to other online resources that you may find helpful. Our team in conversation today are
Yes, well, it's very tough. In the Chat and Cherish group, we talk about all sorts of things. The loneliness of being a carer, the exhaustion, maybe having to take on jobs you'd previously have shared with your loved one, having to give up activities that previously nourished you in life, such as doing things together, having a job you enjoy, fun with friends, etc. And you may also miss the comfort of intimacy that can get lost when the roles change to patient and carer. But one thing that people often find really difficult, and I remember it myself when my husband was dying 11 years ago, is the difficult emotions that may come up. If you're usually a fairly happy, easygoing person, it can be quite shocking to find yourself swept with anger, which is the very last thing you'd expect when caring for somebody you love very much. Or perhaps even more demanding, caring for somebody you don't really like so much now, but feel you want to stand by. These emotions are normal. You're tired, you're running on empty. The person who might usually have cuddled you when you're feeling down now only seems to want to talk about their pills or their pain or their bowels, and that's really tough. You don't know how long this is going to go on or what's going to happen, and it can feel like being tested almost beyond endurance, and something snaps. After months of caring for my darling Derek at home, I remember feeling so stricken that I just stopped myself from saying, look, if you're going to die and leave me all alone, I just can't bear the dread of it. So go ahead and get it over with. Die then. Oh, it's only people who've been there who would understand that anguish and the guilt that may follow, which is why people find it helpful coming to a group like the Chat and Cherish, where you can let your hair down and talk without fear of being judged. Actually, anger is often part of the grieving process after the person has died as well. How dare you leave me? And that's very normal too. We're emotional beings, and in a situation as extreme as this, you may find yourself experiencing all kinds of emotions, including, when it's over, even some relief, and that can feel shocking too. Well, everyone faces their approaching death in their own way, and some people find it easier to ignore what's happening, and one has to respect that. Others like to be prepared, and there are two sort of clear reasons why that may be helpful. The first is that if you have your affairs in order, that means your family doesn't have to scramble around trying to second guess what you might have wanted and where important information is. But also, at a time when so much control is ebbing away because of the illness and approaching death, it can be steadying to feel you have some measure of autonomy. As we realise from COVID-19, you never know what's round the corner. Death is no respecter of age or status. And thinking about having an advanced plan for end of life isn't just for old people. Young folk, especially athletic types who enjoy sports like horse riding or skiing, may find it useful, or even just road users, which is all of us, because we know that dreadful accidents can happen. And it's best to make a plan while one still has mental capacity. After a serious brain injury, for example, or the onset of dementia, it's more difficult. So an advanced plan for end of life might include information like who you are, what matters to you, family contacts, GP, etc., where you'd want to die, whether you'd want to accept or refuse life-saving treatment, what would happen to your pets if you weren't there, where you keep important documents, who you'd like to see and not like to see, whether you've made a will, lasting power of attorney, who needs to be contacted before and after your death, how you'd like your funeral to be, and whether you've signed up for the tissue and organ donation scheme or maybe pledged your body for medical research. The hospice has a really good book to help you prepare an advance plan, and there's all sorts of information on the internet if that's your thing. Under the Mental Capacity Act, capacity is decision specific, and an individual is assumed to have capacity unless, on the balance of probabilities, proven otherwise, in which case various safeguarding protocols come into play. Some approaches include production of legally binding advance decisions, which cover decisions to refuse medical treatment or the appointment of an attorney to oversee matters of finance and health, and advance statements, which can include information a person considers important to their health and care, do not have legal force, but medical practitioners must consider them carefully when future decisions are being made. Some people feel spooky about thinking about death in case it attracts the Grim Reaper, but really that won't happen. Another concern is that an advance plan will lock you into certain decisions, but that's not true either. You can amend it at any time, and in fact it's a good thing to review periodically to make sure it's really what you want. Circumstances change and your choices may change too. As far as upsetting relatives, I guess some people might be upset at facing the fact that you're going to die. Others will find it really comforting because they will quite likely know that is going to happen, and it's the classic elephant in the room. And if you actually can talk about it together, that can be really comforting. As a lot of people have said already today, talking about stuff, sharing it, can really help sort it out in your mind and in other people's. So in sum, if we are the author of our own story, then we may like to give some thought to the final chapter, how the story ends.
Firstly, we can help you with this. You don't have to do this on your own at all. You might be surprised. She may be acknowledging it more than she's showing. That might be her own way, perhaps, of coping with it. But I certainly think it may be helpful for her to talk about it more. So firstly, we would really need to make sure that your husband is happy for us to speak to her and how much detail we can talk about with her. So if he gives his consent and he's happy for us to do that, the doctors and nurses can initially speak to her and find out what she does know and how much she does already understand, and maybe help her with the bits then that she doesn't. And then we can also tell her all the other support that we've got available to her, our family support team, and explain what they're able to do and how they're able to help her through this. And then if she would like us to, we can make that official referral and she can see any of the members of that team, because we're all one big team really. We all work together to support everybody. And I think that's the important thing to say as well, really, that we're here as a team for every member of the family and to support you all on this journey that you're going through, and as well as the patient, obviously, but we're here for all of you, and I'm sure we can help her.
And obviously people's perception is that people come into the hospice, that they don't leave, and that's often not the case at all. So I think maybe once she was here, she might feel more comforted about what we do here and the care that we provide, and be more reassured.
Well, obviously we've already kind of touched on advanced care planning, and I think probably to start advanced care planning as early as possible can cover issues like this with families, and we can talk together about what the patient's wishes are at the end of their life, and who they would like with them at the end of their life. So everybody, obviously is on board and respects the patient's wishes, and also to say that it's okay not to be there if the loved one doesn't want them to, and it might be that the patient is actually trying to protect their loved one by not actually wanting them there at the end of their life. And obviously there are nurses within the hospice, and if we know that somebody's entering the end of their life, then the nurses will be with that patient, and if at all possible, which often is the case, we will be with them and comfort them if they're on their own at the end of their life.